So I've been using this lens for about 95% of my video productions for the last 3 years, and here is the reason why. So before I answer that question, let's back up and let's talk about lens selection in general. Now, of course, you're going to choose a lens based on what you're planning on shooting or planning to shoot. So for example, a lot of filmmakers will favor something like a 50mm prime lens or a 35mm prime lens. And this is because they have the time to be able to plan out the composition, to plan out the framing of their shot. They can literally build the shot around their camera and around their lens setup. For things like wedding videography or event filmmaking, I always found myself using zoom lenses like this, the 70 to 200mm f-stop 2.8. And the reason why is because I was able to stand at a distance but still able to capture intimate moments. And this lens in particular is pretty awesome for those types of events because of the f-stop 2.8, which means it shoots very well in low light conditions, particularly on a full frame camera. But for the last 3 years, I've exclusively been using this lens here. This is the 15 to 35mm f-stop 2.8 Canon RF lens. Now, before I tell you why I've been using this lens on a daily basis for the last 3 years, I want to break down some of the specs and tell you why this is such an amazing piece of glass. First of all, build quality. This is premium. This is one of the luxury lenses. You can tell by the little red band around the top here, but also it's weather sealed. It feels solid in your hands. It's super robust. And for me, this is a gift that keeps on giving. It pairs wonderfully with all types of RF cameras and it's just a complement to your photography or filmmaking. Now, because it's f-stop 2.8, it's really useful in darker locations where you need that light. Again, like the 70 to 200, it works really well with a full frame camera. So I've been using this exclusively on the Canon R6. It's just wonderful. It's just amazing. It's crystal clear. Everything is crisp and it works really well. The autofocusing pipes through. It works amazingly well with the eye tracking. So everything is always in focus. One of the main things for me, one of the main selling points is the 15mm focal length. So even in smaller spaces, you can capture a lot of what is happening, what's going on. Not only does it pair amazingly well with your RF mount cameras, but when you use this in conjunction with things like 4K, when you use high frame rates, and when you use C-Log on your RF camera, this just looks fantastic. The color that you get from these optics is also amazing. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is not cheap. It's not something that you're just gonna decide to buy on an impulse. If you go on the official Canon store, it's selling for £2,400 in the UK, also for $2,400 in the US, but I think the official Canon store at the moment has a sale on, so I think you've got about $300 off. You can get it cheaper on Amazon. I think you can get it for about £1,600, even cheaper if you get a great import from somewhere like Hong Kong. I also use this lens exclusively for my latest short film, Rocket Girl 2, which has won a couple of film festivals recently. Just a little shameless plug there. It performed really well in closed environments, like inside the house and also inside this office space. Also taking it on the beach, putting it on the gimbal and getting some amazing sweeping shots of like the rover, also because of this lovely lens. So why have I been exclusively using this lens for the last 3 years? And I would calculate about 95% of my videos have been shot on this lens. This is purely because I've had a shift in focus for my work. So previously, I used to do a lot of wedding filmmaking, a lot of event videography, and I would find myself shifting through a variety of different lenses for those types of videos. But more recently, I've been doing a lot more filming from this home studio. I've been filming how-to guides, I've been doing review videos, I've been doing a lot of content creation-based filmmaking, and that required a lens that I could use in this small office space. And that's why this has been pretty much attached to my Canon R6, shooting in 4K C-Log for the last 3 years. If you've been watching my vlogs as well for the last 15 days, you would have noticed that most of the sitting shots, if they're not shot on the iPhone 15 Pro, they're shot on the Canon R6 with this actual lens. The lens I'm actually using now is the EF 16 to 35mm f-stop 2.8, which is also a beautiful lens, but doesn't have as much quality, in my opinion, as the RF version, which is of course native for the R6. Of course, this lens does have downsides. It's massive, so carrying this around is quite a big, thick, heavy lens. to have in your camera bag. Also, as we mentioned earlier, it's not cheap. You're going to be looking at parting with at least £1,500 to £1,600, close to $2,000. Maybe you could get a used version on secondhand marketplace like Facebook or eBay for cheaper, but you might have to shop around. Today's challenge is, I've been talking about the lens that I've been using the most for the last 3 years.
Oh no, do I have to see which one it is?
You have to guess. This is like Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. You have to choose the lens that I have been using for the last 3 years the most. That's what the video is about today. Tell me which one you choose and then tell me why you've chosen that lens.
Okay.
But please don't drop those because I'm scared that you'll just drop them like you just dropped my mic.
Called?
Nothing to do with the camera. The lens. These are lenses. And tell me which one I've used the most. There's no point shaking them. They're not miraculous.
These three.
Okay, so you think it's one of these three. So I'm going to just take these out of the way. Right, so we've got 3 now. Looks like we're doing one of those games with coins and we're going to move them around. Right, so one of these 3 you think is my most used lens.
Yeah.
Can you make a decision on these 3 now?
I'm guessing it is this one.
So your final decision is going to be this lens here. You think that's my most used lens. I'm going to remove these 2, right? It's interesting. Now, give me your reasons. Why do you think that's the most used lens that I've been using for the last 3 years?
Well, it looks very old and dusty, and it's very large, and also all of them have a sticker, but this one doesn't.
The lens that I have been using the most for the last 3 years is, in fact, this lens. You got it right.
No! Whoa!
Your reasoning was completely random and off, had nothing to do with anything, but you guessed right. This is actually the lens.
I thought it was because it had no sticker.
Well
How
done.
did I get correct?
You still got it right. Well done. That's another one for Naya. We'll see you tomorrow. Should you get one of these lenses? Well, there are a few use cases that are going to justify this. If you're a content creator that's looking to do podcasts, this is going to be wonderful, particularly if you have a small space. Having this lens as like a main shot for your podcast is going to be immensely useful. I think you could justify it in that case. Having this, if you're going to do weddings as well, and you want to do sweeping shots with gimbals, these wide shots, wide sweeping shots of the bride and groom on the dance floor in low light, you're going to want to have something like this lens for that as well. If you want to up your vlogs, if you want to up your YouTube videos and make them look more cinematic and more crisp, again, shooting with an RF camera in 4K using this lens is really going to up the game, I think, for your content. So I think if you fit into those categories, you can absolutely justify the expense. If you're not really interested in any of that stuff, then you might want to give it a pass. But in my opinion, this is a wonderful investment and something that you should be thinking about if you're serious about making your content look more polished. But that is my opinion, guys. I want to know what you guys think about this lens, the RF 15 to 35mm. If you have one already, what do you use it for? Let me know in the comments below. Let me put the lens down. I don't want to drop it. So hopefully you found today's video useful. If you did, don't forget to drop us a like. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Hit the little bell button for notifications. Today is, what day is it today? The 5th? It's 15th. We're halfway through Vlogtober. I've been vlogging every day in October. I'm learning a lot. It's very tiring, but it's also very exciting and rewarding. So guys, if you have been following along and you have been supporting, I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. So with that said, guys, have a wonderful day and I will catch you tomorrow.